Hey guys, how we doing? I'm going to be doing the video you guys have all been waiting for. The build your own modded controller for the Xbox 360. The same way that companies like Scuf and Burn do it. My do-it-yourself video has got a ton of views. A bunch of you guys subscribed. I've had a ton of people hit me up to do their controllers, and you guys have all been asking for how to do it to the Xbox One controller. So, I know you guys have been waiting for it, so I'm going to do my best and walk you through it. There's a ton of different options for this controller. So, what we're going to do, we're going to start with disassembly. Okay. I personally like to get this screw first. It's under the sticker. Okay. Next, you need a flathead screwdriver. Get in there. Push the trigger down. Don't scratch the trigger. Just get your flathead in there. Pop your covers off. There are 4 more screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here's your inner cover. There's your controller. So, first thing you need to do, you need to get rid of all these wires. Okay, let me point some stuff out to you guys here. You can see that they're marked with positive, negative, positive, negative. Same on this side. Positive, negative, positive, negative. Positive is the gray wire and the red wire. Negative is always the black wire on these controllers. So you want to desolder the 8 wires. Once you desolder the wires, you can pull the rumble motors out. And you can kind of just move these to the side. Okay. Next, you will need your T6 screwdriver. Just like the Xbox 360 controller, the Torx T8H was the screwdriver that you used to open a 360 controller. The same screwdriver opens the Xbox One controller. Once you've got your controller open and you've got these wires out of the way and your rumble motors removed, you're going to remove these 2 screws. Okay, next, if you look in, you will see this black connector here, and I don't know if you could see it, but down in there there's another black connector. kind of grab where the black connector is and just kind of wiggle it until it pops off. And remove your main board. Here you still have your button board. Your button board has your A, your X, your Y, your start select, your guide, your bumpers, and you'll notice that the triggers are a little different on this controller than they are on the Xbox 360. These are called linear hall sensors. They work with magnets. You can kind of see that the triggers themselves are magnets, and the sensors themselves pick up the magnetism and allow you to, get your 0 to 100% access on the trigger up and down. So that would be 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and back up. And of course, with Call of Duty and the games that you're going to be making this Remap button controller with trigger stops for, you don't really need, obviously you can go down about that far and it will shoot and or aim. So you can kind of leave this one alone. If you decide you want to change out your buttons or your D-pad or anything like that, if you're changing your shell, obviously you're going to want to pop your bumpers off. As you can see, I kind of pushed it to pull the bumpers off. I put them back on because I'm not going to be removing them. But once you get your bumpers out, you're going to push down that, and you're going to kind of pop that, and that'll come off too, and that'll allow you to take out the screws for the button board. You pull that out, and then your buttons will all fall out, and you can change your buttons, change out whatever you want. In order to change the D-pad, all you have to do is, you could see it right there, you just kind of pop this up, that comes off and allows you to change your D-pad. To get it back on, clip the bottom in first, and then the top clips in, hold your D-pad in. So again, you can kind of leave this to the side. This is the board we're going to be working with. And really, to make button remaps, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of different ways to do it in this video. And I'm also going to show you a chip that we have that will allow you to remap any of the 8 buttons. So your thumbstick clicks, which are right click and left click, your bumpers, right bumper, left bumper, and then your X, your A, B, X, Y. So you have 8 total buttons that you can remap. I'm going to show you the simple A, B for now on this. And I'm also going to show you the chip that you can install. You can buy the chip direct from us and install it yourself, or you can mail in a controller and we'll do it for you. It's up to you. And I'm also going to show you a bunch of different ways to do your remap buttons. We have tact switches, like I showed you on the last video, where you could just do tact switches. And if you want to do lever switches, paddles, you could do those as well. I'm going to show you how to do those as well. And with the Xbox One controller, with it being wired and wireless, the same controller, you can actually do 4 on the back now. If you remember on the 360, you were only able to do on a wireless controller 2 lever switches, 2 paddles. And on a wired controller, you could do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. With this controller, you can do it a lot of different ways. You can do 2 tact switches here and here. A lot of people prefer the grip, and they actually want buttons that they could push in here. So I'll show you how to do that. And then for those of you that like the style of the paddles in the back, lever switches, paddles, whatever you want to call them, you can do the two normal ones like, you know, we're on the 360 controller, or you could do four, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I will show you that as well. So the first thing you need to know is, where are all your buttons? The buttons on the Xbox One controller are all common ground, CG, just like the wireless controller from the 360. So the first thing you need to know is where's your ground? And your ground is right here, TP26. That is your ground. See if I can focus in on that for you. There we go. TP26. All you need to do is solder one wire to that, and I will show you, and then you can solder it to your tact, and then chain your tacts together, ground to ground to ground. I will show you all that. Then you need to know where your A, B, X, Y buttons are. Well, for those of you that want just the standard A and B remap, B is actually here. This is your B button. And unlike the 360 controller, we're not going to scrape the pads and solder wires to it. We're going to follow the tracer down, and oh look, there's a solder point right there. That's your B. So you solder one wire to this, and I will show you that. And then the other wire goes to your ground, which is TP26, and you go to your tact, and it's done and over with. And you've got your B button. Now your A button, I'm going to show you all your buttons right here. The bottom part on the right-hand side of the right joystick, right analog, you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 solder points. 7 on the bottom, 7 on the top. This dot indicates 0.1. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. So on the bottom you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And on the top you've got 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. Your A button is 4, 6, 8. 8 is your A button. Your Y button is 10, I believe. Then on top, you have 1, 3, 5. 5 is your X, I believe. 7, 9, 11. And I believe 9 is your left bumper or right bumper. And then on this one over here on the top, there's your dot again. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Number 9 on here is your other bumper. So this is a bumper, and this is a bumper. If you give me a second, I will actually confirm them for you. Give me 1 second, I'll look at the piece of paper. Okay, so I'm going to confirm again. Number 9 on this one over here. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Over here, number 9. This one right there is left bumper. And then 5, 1, 3, 5 on this one is right bumper. And then 9 is X. That one's X. And I was right about the bottoms. 8 is A. 10 is Y. If you want to do your right thumbstick or left thumbstick for remaps, they're on the back, which is really good. You can solder to either this one or this one. These two are your right thumbstick click, and then this one or this one is your left thumbstick click. And we're going to solder all of them when we do the remap chip. But just for the sake of this video, I'm going to show you how to just do a simple A-B remap. So let's get to work on that. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Okay. Give me one sec while I... Oh, there's a buggy on the table. Where did he come from? Alright, give me one sec, and I will get this going. Okay. So, now, if you remember, your right hand, your left hand on the back, so you want your wires coming down over here for your right hand and over here for your left hand. So most people like B on the right, A on the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder a wire from the B. I will show you how to do it. Oh. Okay. Now I recommend keeping it away from this connector. And I recommend taking a little bit of hot glue and just kind of holding the wire in place. Okay. Then I recommend wrapping it on the corner here. And on this side, a little bit of hot glue. Don't put it at the edge, you want some play. And there's your wire for B. Now your wire for A goes on 0.8. So you count the legs, 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. Okay. Now, what you want to do is you want to take your wire, you want to run it across the board, you want to wrap it around, you want to give yourself the same amount of play, and then cut the wire. You only need to strip a minute amount Okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to do this off camera so I can see. So you don't just get ahead of hair. Okay. Now I will show you. See? Make sure that when you solder, you do not get any solder in between the pins. You do not want to connect the pins at all. You just want to solder directly to the pin. So, now that I'm done, okay. I like to put some glue in the middle there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Then I like to wrap it around. And put some glue over here. Let it dry. Okay, there you go. There it is. So you've got your A wire, your B wire. On the back, they'll be opposite. Well, actually, they'll be the same if, depending on how you hold it. When you flip it over, the way that you would normally hold the controller, there's your A wire, there's your B wire. So, be on the right hand and the left. Okay, there's only one wire left to solder. And that's that wire to TP26 that I was telling you about. Let me double check. Good. Use some glue to hold it in place. Okay. Now, that's it. That is all you need to do to make an A and B remap. Now, of course, you can solder to any of these other pins if you wish. There you go. So, there's your A, there's your B. Now, like I said, next to it is Y if you want Y. Pin number 5 is right bumper. 7, 9 is X. Pin 9 on this one over here is right bumper. And again, you're going to want to solder to here or here for left thumbstick click, and here for right thumbstick click, depending on what you want to remap. So that's done. Okay, Next, I'm going to show you how to do trigger stops. Are they necessary? Not really, but they do help. So what you want to do is you want to take your soldering iron, you want to come down about that far. Just put a little dot. There you go. Okay. There's my trusty 440 drill bit again. Okay, guys. There you go. There you go. Now, you don't need just the drill bit, you need the tap as well. Okay. Once you're done with that, put in your stops. Perfect. You want a little bit of space between the top of the trigger and the stop itself. Now there is a way to do an adjustable trigger on this controller, but I'm not going to show it to you. It's a little difficult to show on camera, and it's not 100% perfect each time. So I'm not going to leave it out, but trigger stop should be good enough for now. So that's that. Next, put your board back in. Okay, done. Now, of course, you want to put your screws back in here and here, and you want to solder your wires back on, and don't forget to put your rumble motors back in and solder your rumble motors back on. But for the sake of time, because this is a lot more complex than a 360 controller, I'm going to jump to the next step. Okay, the next step is going to be putting your tack buttons in. Now, there's not a lot of room under this shell. Now, I'm sure you guys can see that the plastic has a different shade, this line here, okay? If you're going to put in tacks on the side covers, you can kind of see these circles here, here, and here. You're going to want to put your tack switches here. Okay, well above this line and on the curve. And over here, same thing. There you go. That's where you want to drill your holes for your tack switches, here and here. Okay, if you're going to go on the side. I'm not going to do the side. I'm actually going to show you guys the back so that we can do paddles on the back. I'm only going to do 2, but I'm going to show you 4 as well. So I'm actually going to do the 2 on camera. I've already got one pre-made that I made before the video started that already has 4 tact switches. And it's already wired up on the inside. I know it's kind of hard to see with all the glue and stuff. But there are a couple things we need to look out for. So, first thing is, you're going to want to keep your battery cover on. That's the first thing. Because the battery cover kind of clips in down here, okay? So you don't want your tact switches kind of interfering. If you're going to do 2, then let me show you where your pilot holes are going to go. Take your soldering iron, and at almost the top right corner of the circle, burn a hole. Same thing over here. Okay. Don't forget to clean your soldering iron when you're done. Plastic and soldering irons do not go well together. Okay. Now, I use a special kind of tact switch. I'm going to show you the tacts that I use. They're called the C&K tactile switch. What's so special about these tacts? I will show you. Now, first thing we want to do is we want to drill our holes. All right. Okay, so okay, here we go. Try to get this on camera for you guys. Okay. Here we go. My holes are drilled. They're near the corner clips, but like I said, I use a special tact switch. I will list these in the description. I will list these in the description eventually. I want to get the video up first. But let me show you guys these tacts. Alright. These tacts, if you notice, they don't have your typical tact shape. Well, they look like tact switches, but you'll notice the metal kind of cones up around the tact switch, and you'll also notice that the tact housing itself is slightly narrower than most tacts. Now, just to give you an idea of why, see this plus here and this right here? This is where your headset adapter clips in, if you're using a headset adapter. So, here's one of the homemade ones that I made. Clips in. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, I don't know if you guys can notice it on camera, but this X is slightly angled. The board itself sits almost flush with the bottom down here, but higher up here. So you can only put your tact switches in this area in here, all in here. You really don't want to go lower than this circle. This circle here, the very bottom of these two circles, if your tact switch is sitting lower than this line, you're going to have trouble putting the back shell of your controller back on, because the board is not going to have enough room. There won't be enough clearance. So what I like to do is I like to put my tact switches in kind of a little bit at an angle for these two. If you're going to do 4 tact switches like this one, you're going to want to put them in this area here and here. Just far enough apart, not exactly in the middle, like here and here. And you'll notice I have it here and here. Okay, so the tact switches are in. Give me one sec. Having a little trouble with my glue gun. There we go. Okay. Shoe. Okay. Kind of hold it in place. Okay, that one's done. Sorry guys, my good glue gun just crapped out on me, so I'm using this third-rate one. But still, I got it in. Just be careful of all these strings and stuff. And just let it dry. Okay. Now from right, this one should be in, and this one over here should be in. Perfect. You're going to want to let the glue dry a little bit more. I didn't let it dry quite enough on this finger. Don't want to have my finger get attached and pull it out. There we go. And be careful how much glue you actually use. You want just enough to hold the button in so that it doesn't move. And you also don't want to get any glue in the way of your door opening and closing. So, okay, I put enough glue in there to hold the switch. I'm going to pull my door and put it to the side for now. And I'm going to let it sit and dry. Meanwhile, I'm going to show you guys this one. You can see I have 4 tacks in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's also an LED in here. That's for the remappable chip. I'll get to that in a little bit when I do another video. So I'm going to attach that at the end. I'm going to kind of end the video in the middle, so you guys will have the complete tutorial on how to build a remappable controller for A and B, trigger stops, everything like that. And then when it's done, I will do the remap in the middle. So that's that. Okay, so these should definitely be dry by now. There's 1. There's 2. They ain't going nowhere. Click, 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 click. You don't feel the tacks moving underneath. That means the glue really adhered to the tact and to the shell, and it ain't gonna go nowhere. I mean, these'll be good for tens of thousands of presses. So that's that. Okay. So what's next? Next is putting it all together. Technically now, you can solder your whole thing together. So let's do that. Give me 1 second. I'm going to reload the camera and we'll get that done. Okay guys, we're all resituated here. So this is what I recommend doing. I recommend keeping your controller, no thumbsticks in yet, up a little bit higher than the shell. Okay? Now, the one thing we forgot to do on this shell was we forgot to connect the grounds. So you only need 1 wire. And what I'm going to do is, I always make, excuse me, I'm talking about wire in my mouth. I always make the top the ground and the bottom the actual button press. So the top and the top, and then the top over here, and the bottom on this side. Really doesn't matter which side you do. Oh, be careful when adding solder to the tacks with hot glue. You can actually loosen your hot glue a little bit. Okay, so like I said, connect your tacks. If you have 4 tacks, it's a little bit easier because you just go tack to tack, tack to tack. And again, if you are one of the people that did the side tacks, you're still going to connect your tacks together with one longer wire. This is so you don't have to have 2 ground wires. You're just cascading the ground is all you're doing. Okay. Perfect. So, make sure you push your wire down. Be careful. Okay, now, the top is the ground. So the first wire you're going to want to solder is your ground wire. Okay. Then on the bottom, solder your button wire. And on the other side, solder your button wire. That's it, you're done. So, how do you put it all together now? Very simple. Let's pretend that these are soldered in. They're not, because I'm going to be doing the chip remap afterwards. But, so now, what you want to do is, you want to take your wire, you want to kind of pull it this way, and you want to pull it this way. Keep them away from the center. You don't want them anywhere near your center port. Okay? And you also don't want it in your battery cover area. So, pull your wires using your tweezers. It should look something like that. Okay? Line your battery clips up in here. See? Make sure that they're in. Push your triggers down, and your cover should fall into place. Bam. Done. Then you can put your thumbsticks back in. And put your cover back on. And then start putting your screws back in. You can do your center screw first if you want. I have my sticker on, so I'm not going to do my center screw. I'm just going to do the corner screws. But there you go. Okay, so that's done. Now, here comes the fun part. Putting on your levers or your paddles. Put your battery cover back on. Snap it in. All done. Okay, great. Now, you need your paddles. Okay, so I got my paddles. There we go. 2 paddles. I'm going to put them on the back of the controller like this. And for those of you that that's 4 paddles. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll get to that in a minute. But here are 2 paddles. So, put them on any way you feel comfortable. You can have them low on the battery door or high on the battery door. You can have them close to the edge. You don't want them too close to the edge. You don't want your screw holes on the edge of the hole like that. You want your screw holes away from the edge of the door for two reasons. One, you don't want to interfere with these clips on the inside. So, I like mine about here. Make sure that they're over your tact switches and they click. Kind of hold it in place. Make sure they work. The closer to the edge of the controller is preferred, not too close. You don't want it rubbing against the edge of the controller. You could see it kind of, you want it enough to cover the tact switch. You don't want it like that. You want it over the tact. There you go, like that. Hold it in place. I like using my soldering iron at first. Just kind of pilot holes. Okay. Then take your 440 and drill your holes. Be careful, you don't want to drill all the way through and screw up your circuit board. Open it up when you're done. Blow out any excess plastic. And kind of leave that paddle to the side. Then do your next one. Can actually just drill. There you go. Okay. Now, once your hole's drilled, use your tap. Your tap is what's going to allow the screws to bite. So, when you're done, take cover off, blow out the inside, wipe any excess from the battery door cover. There you go. Okay. Now, you're ready to put your paddles on. I always like to put in my top screw first, not too tight. It's a little too tight. There you go. Tighten them up. Perfect. Perfect. I could have lined them up slightly better if I wanted to. I'm doing it on camera, it's slightly crooked, but you get the idea. Perfect. And if you watch, when you take the cover off, paddles come off, your levers come off with the cover, and they go right back on, and they work perfectly. There you go. It's that simple. Obviously, you can put your side covers back on to cover up the screws. Your whole controller should be back together, and you should have your A and B. Hook it up to your PC or to your Xbox and make sure it works. I am going to come back with a whole bunch of extras. Here, just real quick. I'm going to put on just one battery door, not even going to click it in. I'm just going to put it on just to show you the trigger stop works. Your paddles are on. Yes, I make my own paddles. Yes, it's in the description of where I get my plastic. I use a machine to make them really, really nice. These I just made by hand real quick for this video. Still, they're pretty decent. I use a flexible plastic, which allows you to click it all the way down at the bottom and right near the screw as well. Anywhere along the paddle, it clicks that tact switch. I mean, look, I'm right up by the screws. Watch. Up by the screw. It's pushing that tact switch. So it doesn't matter where along the paddle you push, it works along the whole paddle. Nice and sensitive, easy clickings, you're good to go. Of course, you might want to add a dome thumbstick. You can find them online. I think I have one to show you guys. I believe I do. Yes, I do. Domed thumbstick. There you go. That's a dome thumbstick for the Xbox One. It's not a PlayStation 3. It's not a PS4 or anything like that. It's an actual thumbstick manufactured for the Xbox One. I do not sell these, but I can get them, and they are expensive. They're $15 a pair. I'm sure you could find them online, like eBay, if you look for them. They haven't really been mass manufactured yet, but they are out there. If you want to add a dome thumbstick to make it a lot like how the 360 setup was. I don't think there's much more I could tell you right now. So, there you go. I mean, it's as simple as that. And, oh, the other thing you guys got to be careful of is, down here, your mic port. Here's a headset adapter. It does plug in. You guys got to be careful that if you use too much glue or your tacks sit too low, I'm sure you could see this part of the circuit board here. This part of the circuit board lifts up, and it makes it hard for you to plug your headset adapter in. You might have to pinch it down. There's no screw that really holds this tight down here. You might have to pinch it down to line it up so that your adapter clicks in easier. Again, don't use too much glue. Don't use gigantic tacks, and don't sit them too low in the back here. You don't want them too low, because then this board is definitely going to push, and it's going to push up and up, and it's going to make it hard to plug your headset adapter in. So, and then make sure you put all your screws back in, especially that center screw. That center screw will kind of tighten this a little bit, but like the Xbox 360 controller had a screw really low that kind of tightened everything all around, but this is good enough for now. So that is how to modify your Xbox One controller. I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm going to set up for the install of the Remap chip and show you guys how that works. Hey guys, so we're going to set up the Xbox One controller with an auto Remap chip. So you're probably asking, what does this chip do? Well, what this does is it allows you to hook up either 2 or 4 lever switches, tact switches, whatever. 2 remaps or 4 remaps. You have to have at least 2. You can do 3 if you want, and you could definitely do 4. And it allows you to program your remaps so that you can set them to whatever you want. For those of you that use A and B, sometimes you kind of wish you had run, left click, or you had melee, right click, or if you play tactical, it's kind of different. This will actually allow you to set your paddles to whatever you want. And if you get bored of the configuration, no need to open up your controller and resolder wires and move things around and give stuff up that you don't want to give up. This will actually allow you, with just a couple of quick button presses, to reprogram your remap to be whatever button you want it to be. So this is the chip, and here's the board. To start with, I already soldered 11 and 9, which, if you were paying attention, 9 is X, and 11 is the select button or the window button. I don't know what it's called on the Xbox One controller, but it would be the select button. And the way that I do it is I make the X wire longer and the select button wire shorter, just so I can differentiate them, because we're actually going to cover those wires. We're actually going to get this in here. But the rest I'm going to solder everything else on camera for you. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare the chip. Okay, so to prepare the chip, you're going to need some solder. And you're going to see these 2 solder points over here, G and GL. For all Xbox One controllers, bridge them together. Take enough solder that they actually get soldered together. Then, for the rest, just slightly tin them. You're going to do the D up here, that's your LED. And you're going to do CG+, because it's a common ground controller, and ground. CL+ and on is for Xbox 360 controllers. If you want to put this in an Xbox 360 controller, you can. It's for a wired controller. MT is your mode button. And then you have tacts 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, done. Bless me. Okay, next. We do not want to cover the B soldering point. We do not want to cover this hole. We do not want to put it right up against this connector here. And we don't want to put it too far right to cover the screw hole. So kind of just... Oh, and make sure that your tact 1, tact 2, tact 3, tact 4, they're marked with T1 through T4, is facing down towards the bottom of the controller. It'll make things easier. So you pretty much want it right about there. So let's get some glue. Whoopsie. Too much. Try that again. There we go. That should be a little more than enough. Perfect. Okay. So, let's get this glue out of here. Okay. Perfect. So now, like I said, the short wire is your select one, your long wire was your X. We're going to solder the short wire to the MD, which is your mode. MD. Perfect. Then we're going to solder the X wire to the A over here. They're marked A, B, X, Y, right bumper, right click, left click, Y. You don't have to actually connect the wire to the proper thing. I mean, they're all the same. You know, A, B, X, Y is pretty much, and left click, right bumper, left bumper. They're all just button presses. It really doesn't matter which one you solder to which. Yeah, if you want to make things nice and neat and you want to know what wire goes where, that's why it's marked on the board, A, B, X, Y, so that if you're doing troubleshooting, you know, you'll know, hey, you know, my X button's not working, so you check the wire that's connected to X, and you're like, well, it's definitely the X wire, so, you know, there must be a problem with that. I personally just like to just solder the ABXY left click, right bumper, left bumper to any of the pads in any order. It really doesn't matter, just to get it done. So that's first. Then next is this one over here, which is one of the bumpers. So I connected 0.5, which is left bumper, right bumper to this middle point here, RC. I left 2 above, and I'll show you why. Now I'm going to do solder connection 3. Solder connection 3 is ground, so it goes to ground. Sorry guys, this is very difficult to do with a camera. But the cool thing about having the camera is I could check my work, kind of like a magnifier. Make sure it's not touching anything else. Now remember I told you not to cover that B soldering point? We're actually going to solder to it now. I'm sure you guys can see that. I soldered to the B soldering point and connected it to RB over here. Excuse me while I tidy up my work. Okay. Then next is going to be 0.4 on the bottom. That 0.4 is your power for the chip. So that's going to go to the CG Plus connection over here. There you go. Now, keep the wire away from that B point. You want to tuck it down. There you go. Okay, next we're going to do the A and Y point. Actually, no, next we're going to do the bumper. The other bumper over here, number 9. Kind of measure out your wire. Okay. Okay. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. There you go. Now for some housekeeping. So just take a little bit of glue. Okay, that ain't going nowhere. Okay, now you don't want too much wire. Okay. There's one. There's 2. Okay. Oops. It's up to you guys to route the wires the way that you want. I'm trying to make this as neat and as efficient as possible. Okay. Four, 6, 8, 10. Let's do 10 first. Okay. And then let's do 8. Okay. Okay, let's take a look. Soldering looks clean. Nothing in between the points. There's no solder bridges that are going to mess anything up. So all we have left is right click and left click, which are on the back of the controller. Okay. Okay. I messed up. Camera's a great way to check. Could also use a magnifying glass. Make sure there's no solder bridges. Okay. Okay. Whoopsie. Let it dry. Okay. Hey guys. This should complete all our buttons. Perfect. There we go. So we have our left click and our right click done back here. And then we have our ABXY, left bumper and right bumper. We have our ground and our power for our chip. And now comes the fun part. The remapping stuff. Okay. T1 and T2. I'm sure you guys can see it. T1, T2, T3, T4. T1 and T2 are the most important. You can't use T3 and T4 by themselves. You have to use 1 and 2. They're what allow you to program your remaps, and you have to use at least 1 and 2. So, I like to do 1 and 2. Over to here. Leave some room. Make the wires equal length. Okay, 1 and 2 are done. Keep it away from that hole. Bring them right around the corner. Keep them together. Bring them around the back. And hot glue them. Let it dry. Don't let them come up like I just did. There we go. Perfect. Now, the other thing that you're going to want with T1 and T2 is, you see the D over here? That's for your LED. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring the LED wire down, around, and we're going to bring it more towards the middle. We don't want the LED wire getting confused with one of the remap wires. You can use a little bit of glue. Just don't cover your T4. Or your T3, you're going to need those. Yep, I screwed up. Okay, give me 1 sec, I will fix it. Here we go. Okay. 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 And we already had our ground wire in from when I showed you guys the AB remap. I just left it on. So now we have 4 wires. Whoops. Now we want to do tacts 3 and 4. T3, T4. Run them across the board. Around the other side. Leave yourself some room. Okay. Okay. There's 3. There's 4. I'm going to use the camera to check my work. Yep, no bridges. Great. Okay, so now I'm going to push these down and bring them across. Glue them in the middle. Glue them over here a little bit. Wrap them around the back of the board and glue them one more time. Okay. Perfect. So, there are my 2 wires. There's my ground. It's my LED and my other 2 tacks, my other 2 wires for tacks. So, pretty simple. Kind of look like 3 and 3. Pretty simple. Okay. Now, pop it back in your controller. Snap it in. 1, 2. Secure your board. Okay. Solder your, okay. Now resolder your rumble motors. Once you got your gray and black rumbles, bring them onto the board, hold them down, let them sit. Okay. Now, you're going to need to find your actual rumble motors. Put the wires up through the bottom. Okay. And solder them. Okay. I like to spin the rumbles and kind of wind the wires just to make sure that I didn't accidentally solder the rumble motors to like a little resistor or something. I like to check my work. Check your work. There you go. Okay. Done. So, now, if you guys remember, here's the shell that I had that has 4 tacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's got the LED. I used the resistor on my LED, so it's not so bright. You don't have to. You can solder it direct. On your LED, there's going to be a long leg and a short leg. The short leg is your ground. The long leg is your positive or your anode. I kind of cut them at an angle to keep the long leg long and the short leg short, and I just kind of bend the legs 90 degrees. I drill a hole the size of the tack, and I stick the LED in it. I throw a ton of glue on it, and I do the short leg. I connect a wire to the ground on the tack switches. I don't know if you guys could see that. So here's the LED. Then I got a wire that comes off the LED. Actually, I got a wire that comes off the tack ground that goes to the LED. Actually, no, it doesn't go to the LED. It goes to the resistor, and then the resistor goes to the LED. And no, I'm sorry, I messed that completely up. The LED's negative goes to the inline negative on the tack switches. So the top, like I said, I always do the top as the negative. So the top of this tact connects to the top of this tact. Then it has a wire that comes down and over and then again to the top of this tact. And then you can see the wire over here that connects to this tact. Then at the other end of the tact, the negative wire comes off and it goes to the negative on the LED. Then the positive on the LED goes to the resistor. And the other side of the resistor is where I'm going to solder the LED wire. So, and then I don't know if you could see the bottoms of this one. There's my paddle 1, there's my paddle 2, there's my paddle 3, there's my paddle 4. So, let's see what I can do here. Might have to prop it up a little bit. Does that work? Yeah, it works. Sort of, kind of. Okay, so we're going to prop that up on there. I'm going to bring that up under there. Okay. Now, I always solder my negative first. So the TP26 goes to the top of this tact over here, which is tact 1, which starts the whole sequence of all 4 tacts being connected together. Okay? Then this wire all by itself, that gets connected to the anode of the LED, or in this case, the resistor that I have here. You don't have to have a resistor. Like I said, I just didn't want it super bright, so hence, there we go. Okay, now, might want to use your tweezers. It's easier to navigate inside this controller. There's one. There's 2. There's 3. And there's 4. Kind of tug on them, make sure they're all soldered on there pretty tight. Okay. Now you just, like you saw before with the A and B and the ground, you only had 3 wires. Now you have 6 wires. You still need to kind of pull them to the sides and get your cover on. So I'm going to try to do this on camera. You know what? Let's do this. There we go. Let's get that camera up pretty high. Okay, great. Now, pull your wires to the sides. Get them out of here. You can always pull them from the base of where you glued them. Okay? Make sure they're not covering that center hole. Push them out of the way, over here, and over here, but keep them in front of the rumble motors. See what I mean, guys? In front of the rumble motors. Okay? Okay. Make sure that your battery legs, hold on. Okay. Make sure your battery legs line up, and remember to push down on the triggers, hold them down, and that cover should fall into place. Should be tight. Okay. Move the camera back down a second. Okay. Bam. We should be good. I always like to push on all the buttons, make sure everything clicks, including this little sync button up here. You know, just click on everything. Make sure it all works before you put everything back together. Okay? Now, to just test what we're going to do, I'm going to put our thumbsticks back in. Okay. I'm going to put our cover on. Make sure your triggers press. Here's a good indication of where your trigger stop should be, all the way down. They should be below where the cover is, see? Okay. Click all your buttons, make sure everything works. Put your front cover on. Okay. And then You only need one screw. The center screw does it. Bam. Center screw in. That's it. Your cover's on. Granted, you got to put the other 4 screws in. Here, 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 and here. But let's just test to make sure our ship install went okay. So let's put in some batteries. Okay. And I'm only going to put 2 on. Nah, it's okay. We'll put all 4 on. There we go. Huh? Something's not right. There we go. Okay, it's in. Turn on your controller. Okay. Hold down these 2 paddles and press the select button. That light should come on. If that light comes on, you installed your chip correctly. You could just press the select button to turn that light off in the back. But we're good. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, take these batteries out, put the cover back on. Be very careful putting these screws back in over by the triggers, because the triggers are magnets and they will suck your screw into the control, and then you got to take the whole thing apart just to get your screw. Kind of stinks. I kind of magnetize my screwdriver and I hold it with my finger, kind of just get it in the hole. Tighten it down. Okay. Okay. And that's all 4. It is done. Check out my mic port. It is pretty much flush. I mean, even if I pinch it, it doesn't move that much at all. That means my tacks were placed very nicely. And the other thing I want to show you is this. I'm going to change these. If you look at the screws that are holding these paddles in, you'll see that the screws are actually longer than the cover. This is not good. This if you use screws that aren't flush, like these, see these screws? They're flush. They don't protrude into the battery cover. Again, I will link the proper length screws. I believe they're 3/16. This one was done poorly. I used the wrong screws just to kind of get the paddles in there really quick. Bam, there you go. But they all work. And easier if I do it this way. Yeah. Okay. Does not interfere. The tacks are high enough that they keep the paddle off the clip. And I have use of all 4 paddles. Cool, huh? So my headset adapter fits perfectly. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second, and I'm going to show you how the remap works. Hey guys, so we're back, and I'm at my PC, and I showed you last time on my PC with the Xbox 360 controller how the remaps worked. So I'm wired right now, but obviously we could do this wireless if we wanted to with the Xbox 360. So as you can see, all the standard buttons work. A, B, X, Y, left bumper, right bumper, select, start, or Windows and menu, whatever these buttons are called now. Left click, right click, the analog works, the D-pad works, and the triggers work. I don't have the covers on yet, so the trigger stops are still not functioning. Technically, this is them all the way down. They should be about here when the covers are on, but for now they're on. Okay, so anyway, I want to show you on the back. Here are the paddles that we made. This one's B, this one's A, this one's X, and this one's Y. Now, if you press on your right hand these two plus the select button, that light comes on. Then you pick the paddle you want to program. So say you want the first paddle in your left hand to be the melee. You would hold the paddle and the melee. Let go of the paddle, still holding the melee, and press that select button. The light goes off. There's melee. There's melee. So now, press these two again. Hold them. Press the select button, the light comes on. Now, the inner paddle, let's say you want that to be A. Hold the inner paddle and the A. Keep holding A, let go of the paddle. Press the select button, the light turns off. There's A. There's A. Again, press one and two, plus select, light comes on. Now you want the right hand inner paddle to be your right bumper. So you hold right bumper, that inner paddle, let go of the inner paddle, press the select, there's your right bumper, there's your right bumper. And then this one, what is this, right thumbstick click? We want to do that for the very last paddle on the right. So we click the two, and that, the light comes on. Press these two, let go of that, press that, and there you go. So, now, this is a really cool feature. Let's say you don't want to use all four. Let's say these two inner paddles, you don't want them mapped to anything. Turn them on, hold down the paddle, let go of the paddle, press the select button, the mapping is gone. Hold the two, turn it on, hold the paddle, let go of the paddle, press the select button with nothing else, the mapping's gone. So it's like these two paddles don't even exist. So now, press these two again, turn it on, your right outer paddle, your right hand, and A, let go, holding A still, press select, and then hold these two again, press select, B, and the right inner paddle, outer paddle, let go of the paddle, still holding B, press select, and your two paddles are A and B. Your inner ones are nothing. So there's your A and B mappings if you want to just go back to default. That easy. So you guys are probably wondering how much for everything. Well, I put this tutorial up so that you guys can make your own controllers for nothing. Obviously you need your parts, you need your trigger stop screws, you need your paddles, you need to make your paddles, you need to buy your Tacts switches, you need to solder your wire, whatever you guys need to do, and you can make your own remappable controller. You could even do 4 hard remaps. If you want to do 4 without the chip, you can do A, B, X, Y. You can have all 4 of those buttons, or if you want right thumbstick click, A, B, and left bumper, you could do that. I showed you how. It's super simple. Instead of just doing 2 tacks, you'll do 4 tacks, and you'll do 4 wires instead of 2 wires. So you guys can build these controllers for virtually nothing. Cost of the controller, tact switches are 50, 75 cents a piece for the really, really good ones, as low as 10 cents for the junk ones. The screws are dirt cheap. I mean, for $1, you can get all the screws that you need. A hot glue gun you're going to need, a soldering gun you're going to need, some patience you're going to need, but all this stuff you can do on your own. So, good luck to you guys. You know, build your controllers, enjoy. That's why I put these videos up. I can also help if you guys don't want to do this yourself, you don't feel like you could do it, or you want to do the remap that we just did. Obviously, you need to get the remap. I have the remaps. They are $40. That is $10 a remap. Obviously, you have to do all the work. If you want us to install it, it's $65 for 2 paddles with the remap, and $85 with 4 paddles for the remap. That also includes your return shipping. So you get the paddles, you get the tacks, we do all the work for you, the install, we install the chip, everything, $65, $85, and that includes your return shipping in the US only. Obviously, if you're outside the US, things can get a little expensive. If you want to buy the chip and do it yourself, like I said, $40. That includes the shipping, so really it's less than $10 a mapping, and you can program it to wherever you want. I know that you guys are probably like, well, why is this better than companies like, let's say, Scuf? Their new remap thing for their controller, from what I understand, isn't even out yet, but when it is out, all they did was take away the button and use their key to allow you to magnetically activate it and deactivate it. Big deal. Everybody's going to lose their key, nobody cares. The second thing is that you can only have 2 reprogrammable paddles from them. So if you get 4 paddles on the back of your controller from them, only these 2 are programmable. You can program these to A, B, X, Y, left bumper, left click, right click. These 2 are hard mapped to X and Y. They're always X and Y. They do not have the ability to give you 4 programmable mappings. So already, I've got a product that nobody else has. You could dynamically remap up to 4 tacks, or bumpers, or or levers, or paddles, or whatever. You could do 2 of these and 2 tacks. You could do 4 tacks, 2 over here and 2 over here. You can do whatever you want. Build it any way you want. And with our remap chip, you're never stuck for what configuration do I want. You'll always be able to remap what you want in the match that you want. And you saw how quick it is. I mean, here, check this out. I'm going to show you exactly how fast it is. Here's A. We're going to remap it to X. Ready? This is how quick the remap is. It's X. That quick. Back to A. A. Done. It's super quick. Turn it on. Turn it off. Here's your A and B. It's that easy. Super quick, super easy. It's a combination that you'll never screw up in a match, you're never going to hold down the 2 paddles and press your select button. It's just not going to happen. So, I think that after the 8 months that you guys have waited for me to make this video, and I promised I would make it, and I kept promising I would make it, and I've been super busy. You know, I do make controllers for customers as well. It is a side hobby, and obviously I've invested into some new toys like the remapping chip. And again, this video is for you guys. It's for you guys to make your own controllers, to not have to pay anybody to build these things for you. You can do it yourself, dirt cheap. Yeah, okay, if you want the cool toys like the remapping chip, I'm asking $40 for the chip, and that includes shipping in the USA. Outside the USA, you're going to be paying more for shipping. But still, $40 plus $10 worth, you're looking at $50 worth of stuff. All these other companies that out there, Scuf and Burn and Evil, anybody that makes remap controllers, you know, or modded controllers, these people are asking $150, $200 a controller. It's ridiculous. I mean, for the reprogrammable stuff, only 2 paddles, I've seen it for $189.99 plus tax and shipping. Comes to over $200. I can do 4 paddles on a new controller for you guys for $150 shipped. 4 programmable paddles, $150 shipped on a brand new controller. I've also got shells and I've got buttons. I mean, I got anything you guys could possibly want for your controller. I mean, here's a controller with red thumbsticks. I have every color thumbstick that exists. I have every color ABXY button that exists. I have every color shell that exists in both matte, which is this, matte finish, and glossy. Here's glossy. Granted, you know, I'm not here to sell you guys a bunch of stuff, although I don't mind making a sale. Granted, I'm going to push that I have this stuff a little bit more now at the end of the video if you guys actually have watched this long. But everything that you could possibly want, I have it, and I don't have to install it for you. I'll be glad to sell it to you at a fair price. If you want a chip and a shell and, you know, some buttons and some thumbsticks, whatever it may be, let me know. I'll be glad to give you a price. And of course, shipping is either free or no more than $5 in the US. I mean, I can ship 2 controllers for $5. I mean, really, it's not a big deal. So, good luck, guys. Build your controllers. If you have any questions, ask in the comment section. I'll be answering every day like I did with the other videos. And feel free to hit me up. I'll probably put a link directly for purchase for the remap chip if you guys want to buy it to do it yourself. This video serves as the install. Granted, I will email you guys instructions as well, but other than that, you guys are on your own. I don't have the time to be holding everybody's hand with the remap chip and, you know, saying, oh, did you check this? Did you check your solder bridges? You know, you guys, if you're going to take on the install, you take on the install and you do it yourself. I'll be glad to answer questions, but I'm not going to be tech support. So just heads up right now. I'm not a company. I'm just, you know, looking for some pocket change, and I think I've got a great product. Granted, you want to send your stuff into us, I'll have a whole bunch of different plugins and kits and stuff available, just like I did with the 360, and I appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe, pass it on, share the video, and thanks very much for watching. Take care.